Right now, it's time to take a look at the latest business headlines. For help with that, we're going to bring in a business and markets analyst and Newsmax contributor Seth Denson, as well as former NASDAQ and business reporter Krysia Lenzo. Good morning to you both. Let's just jump into those markets, which kicked the week off up. The Dow recovering nearly 400 points after last week's losses. This morning, futures are way up ahead of the opening bell. Okay, let's head to the banking crisis. Not exactly settling down anytime soon. UBS upped its offer to buy Credit Suisse. Now JP Morgan Chase is advising First Republic on strategic alternatives to save itself, as regional community banks call for the FDIC to ensure all deposits up to $250,000. Seth, let me start with you. Can you catch us up with the latest developments? Do you believe the worst is possibly over?
You know, Alex, I do think the worst is over. I think that had there been another bank that was on the verge of failure, that we would have probably heard about it by now, as many, not only regulators, but investors were looking under the hood of these banks to see where they were. So I think the worst is over. Moral of the story? Government bails out and provides loans so big banks get bigger. I think that's the moral of the story here. These were massive bailouts, but to the benefit of the depositors, though, they will be made whole. I do think we see a future where the FDIC does lift the limits above $250,000 in the days to come.
All righty, Seth, thank you for that. Moving on just a little bit. So Amazon is now laying off 9,000 workers in the coming weeks. Now, this is on top of the already 18,000 cuts that started back in last November. Krysia, so what parts of the company will be affected this time around?
Right. So it's going to affect a lot of the AWS cloud computing services, as well as Twitch and also Amazon HR. The post-Bezos Amazon is not looking pretty for the company. This comes as just 18,000 people were laid off that last month. So it's not looking great for the tech sector overall. Facebook, as we know, laid off another 10,000 employees last week. And this seems to be the trend with all of these major tech companies to lay off their employees as they really ramped up hiring during COVID. They now have to react to what is less than ideal for them.
Yeah, that has certainly been the trend as of late. Meanwhile, Starbucks has a new leader at the helm, and the change in leadership was both a bit surprising and earlier than they even expected. So, Seth, why did the former CEO step down nearly 2 weeks early?
Well, so Howard Schultz is set to testify before the United States Senate coming up on Starbucks' potential violation of labor laws. And I think he wanted to be able to say, I'm not at the helm anymore when he shows up. So I think that was probably the case here. It'll be interesting to see if the Senate reschedules this and brings the new CEO in to testify. But nonetheless, I think Howard Schultz, who, by the way, has been on and off again, their CEO since 1986, said, you know what? I think when I go, I don't want to be holding the wheel to the ship.
I think you're probably right, Seth. So Virgin Orbit making headlines as it scrambles to avoid bankruptcy. And the rocket builder might be forced to file Chapter 11 this week without a deal. Krysia, to you. So is this the end of Virgin before it even makes it to space, do you think?
Well, it doesn't look pretty, Alex. I mean, when it comes to this company, Virgin Orbit, I might recall that it went public via a SPAC during the craze in 2021. They weren't able to raise the funds to go forward and really make a go of the company. And also, just 2 months ago, they had a failed mission in terms of the rocket failed to launch, and the stock price went down about 20%. So this is not great for the company. They've furloughed a lot of their employees, and it looks like they're not able to really get the right price when it comes to potentially selling it. $200 million is what they've been offered thus far, and that's way below market cap.
Wow, okay. How about this? So it was a part of U.S. presidential royalty, and now it's hitting the market for a pretty penny. So, Seth, this real estate transaction could make history if it goes for the price that's listed currently. Tell us about this Jackie Kennedy house.
I mean, I don't know what to say other than it was Jackie Kennedy's house. I mean, you talk about one of the most iconic properties in all of the D.C. areas. It's massive. I think I was looking earlier, something like 15 bedrooms and 6 half baths and 7 full baths, something like that. I could be totally botching that. But nonetheless, the reason I'm botching is I didn't pay a whole lot of attention outside of his Jackie O's house and his $26 million, which tells me everything I need to know, which is that I can't afford it. But somebody will buy this and it will become, I wouldn't be surprised if it becomes a museum. But nonetheless, it will be the feather in the cap of somebody with a whole lot more money than Seth.
I mean, it's stunning, but almost 30 million, I'm not sure. So finally, an iconic Batman comic is up for auction for $1.5 million. Krysia, do you think it's worth this hefty price tag?
I don't know. Certainly in these markets, maybe it's a good hedge for investors to be putting their money in comics. It seems to be a safe place. The bidding actually started at about $1. Last Friday, it closed at about $600,000, upwards of that. So it looks like it could fetch that price. Another comic, the Superman #1, went for about $5 million. People have an interest in comics, and this is a fun one. It's a rare comic book that could be sold for quite a bit.
My goodness, to hear how quickly the price changed and went up. I mean, to hear the Superman went for $5 million, my goodness. Seth Denson, Krysia Lenzo, thank you both for joining us this morning. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Alex.
All right, after the break.